What is good, guys? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's going on with the overall market. I'm going to talk about Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. Make this video very brief as I break down why tomorrow is going to be a very important day as we have the PCE data report coming out. I'm going to talk about CPI and how it relates to it, what the news is saying about Tesla, and all these other pieces of data. But before I break anything down about all this information, before I talk about why tomorrow is going to be such a big day, let me just mention a couple of things. I am personally not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire community as a whole. So, anyways, what's going on with the market? Tesla was up 2.44% for the day. SPY was up quite nicely as well, up 0.58%, getting a bounce and breaking the resistance I was talking about at 428. Once again, looking quite good. The market is looking bullish from a technical standpoint for SPY and Nvidia and the QQQ and Tesla. We are looking more bullish just based off technicals. And although that's awesome, although that's super incredible for many of the investors out there, I just want to remind everyone that technicals are not going to be everything for tomorrow. We have lots of big data coming out, and we have to take that into consideration. So, what data is coming out? Let's first talk about some data from today, just very quickly. Just as a reminder, another reason why the market popped was because the GDP numbers were quite decent. The growth rate quarter over quarter was 2.1%. That is quite good. That's what the market was looking for, aligning with expectations. Initial jobless claims was also quite decent, what the market wanted as well, aligning with expectations. So most of the most significant pieces of data were quite good, and the market liked them, and that caused yields to start dropping. You guys can see this down here. The 10-year Treasury yield was down about 0.63%. So with yields starting to form this top and beginning to downtrend just a little bit for the time being, this is bullish for the stock market as of right now. And yields are looking like they have more downside coming, which is a decent sign for the markets. Now, I can't promise that with 100% certainty, but I can tell you that that's very probable just looking at technical analysis alone. But the reason why I'm saying that is because with the big data coming out, this will have a big effect. And that data is going to be the PCE report for tomorrow. It's going to be 1 hour before the market ends up opening. PCE data is coming out. And this is going to be very telling. If you're not sure what that is, it's another major inflationary measure that the Fed uses as a gauge to understand their policies, to understand the economy, how things are looking, and it's going to affect their monetary policy, which affects the markets and the whole economy. But one thing we could do is look at CPI, and that's going to give us an idea of how the numbers may look because the CPI numbers for the month of August already came out. The PCE numbers are coming out tomorrow for the month of August. So we have a hint about how it's going to look. So here's the hint. We have CPI right here. This is the chart for CPI. As a reminder, all items CPI ended up actually going up a little bit, and this was a tiny bit harder than expected for the CPI side. But it was very minor. It was a very minor increase. It wasn't like too insane. It still was close to expectations, and that's why the market didn't tank that hard after CPI came out. However, what was good about CPI when this came out not too long ago was core CPI continued to downtrend, and this ended up aligning with expectations. So most of the data was decent. Some metrics were a little bit hot, but for the most part, the data was like, kind of like so overall. And this tells me that I think it's very probable that PCE is going to follow this trend. So, what do I think is very probable? So, we have core PCE month over month coming out an hour before the market opens. I think this is going to be as expected at 0.2%. That's going to be decent for the markets. We also have PCE. Let's actually start with core. Core PCE year over year should be between 3.8 and 3.9%. I think it's going to be aligned with expectations. I think core PCE is going to be as expected month over month and year over year. But but when it comes to PCE for all items, month over month, we're expecting around 0.4 to 0.5%. I think it's going to be very close between 0.4 and 0.6% at the higher end. I'm not sure exactly where it's going to be. It's either going to be, I would say, around 0.5% at the hotter end based off how CPI was looking, or maybe a tiny bit hotter at 0.6%. And then PCE year over year. This is all items. This is all items inflation year over year from the month of August. We're expecting it to be 3.5%, so a slight increase relative to the previous report of 3.3%. I believe it's very probable it's going to be either 3.5 or 3.6%, one of those two. I think it's most likely going to be one of those, and that's going to affect the markets. Remember, this data comes out 1 hour before the market opens. Then we have more data coming out. We have the Chicago PMI that could cause some volatility, giving us a gauge of how the economy is looking. That's going to be coming out 15 minutes after the market opens. And then 30 minutes after open, that's when the final big pieces of data are coming out from the Michigan Consumer Sentiment Reports, the inflationary expectations, and things like that. Not as big as like CPI or PCE, but this could cause some volatility. Last but not least, we have one Fed speaker, Williams, speaking, and that's pretty much it for the markets for tomorrow. Pretty much all the data is going to be out around the first 30 minutes of market open, and then after that, we have some like leverage for the markets after that. But anyways, that's pretty much it for the data side. I think once again, core PCE is going to be aligned with expectations, and PCE for all items, whether it's month over month or year over year, could be either as expected or a tiny bit hot. That's what I think is very probable based off this CPI report. Now, don't necessarily fear because of this, because when CPI came out, the market didn't really drop much. It was very flat. And the market actually pumped initially. The market pumped initially, from what I remember, before selling off at the very end of the week. So there's a chance the market may hold up. For the increases I'm projecting in PCE, they could be very, very modest, very tiny. So it shouldn't be too bad. And for that reason, I think there's still potential for the market to pump more even after PCE comes out. All right. So I still stay by what I'm saying, but I just want to be prepared for anything just to be safe. Now, as far as Tesla goes, this news has come out that Tesla has embarrassed all automakers with these two charts. One of the most important ones is this one down here, where you can see the US EV sales. No brand basically comes close to Tesla. They're just killing it with sales in the USA. They're very popular. And that is a fact. I mean, I almost always just see Teslas around. I don't really see many other brands for the most part when it comes to EVs. And they're very popular in the US, and Tesla will continue to grow as time goes on. So that's great for them. And you can see right here, we have three models in the US that are the top three EVs. And you could see, the top two of them are the Model Y and the Model 3. And then Tesla made another one. I think the Model X made another one as well. So Tesla's continuing to kill it, and they are very popular in the US, especially that Model Y. It is just killing it over here. To add on to this, there's news that came out that Tesla delivers the Cybertruck launch event apparel. That means it's coming very, very soon. The launch event is coming, which could be very bullish for them. I'm quite excited about this. I don't know what the date is just yet. I was trying to look for it. I'm not sure yet. I'll come back to you guys about that. But that's not really the biggest thing just yet. They're saying that it should be happening, at least they should be sending invites over the next few days, and it could be sometime in October. So we're getting very close to that. But the reason why I said this is not like the biggest thing I'm prioritizing right now is because PCE comes out tomorrow. Not to mention, this is going to be the last day Tesla has trading. Friday is going to be the last day before we have deliveries that come out. We have deliveries for Q3 coming out very, very soon. It's going to be very telling for Tesla. Generally, it comes out on Sunday, so it should be out by Sunday, hopefully. That's going to be very big for Tesla. I will talk more about that over the weekend. For now, when it comes to Tesla, Deutsche Bank was saying you should buy Tesla. They said this 2 days ago. On top of that, the price-price ratio is quite flat. Tesla's still doing well. And on top of this, the short interest went up just a little bit. We saw about 32 million Tesla shares shorted. So a little bit more than yesterday, but not as crazy. Volume was 116 million, very flat volume, very close to what the average has been, but still not bad since it's over 100 million. And the short volume relative to price is dropping, which is a decent sign for Tesla, as we're starting to see some short covering, in my opinion. So I think what drove Tesla up a lot today was short covering. That's part of why the short interest is likely going to start downtrending a bit. What do I think is going to happen to the chart? Here's my honest answer, guys. Okay, if we're bullish tomorrow, you want to see Tesla break 248.5, and we're going to be watching 250, then 252.5, and potentially even 255. If we're bearish, we're going to be watching Tesla break below 245. If that ends up happening, we could see Tesla sink towards 243.74, and then below that, 242.5, and then 240. All right, so those are support and resistance levels. What do I think is more likely? So I can't promise anything. It depends on PCE, of course. You need to be prepared for anything. But I believe from a technical standpoint, Tesla looks bullish. It looks bullish. We have a nice bullish wedge developing. I think there's a high probability Tesla's going to be pushing for 250 plus, if not 252 at the very least. I think Tesla has upside coming, and I'm leaning more bullish for tomorrow. But at the same time, I'm always open-minded to anything thanks to PCE, but I'm still leaning more bullish nonetheless. For SPY, if we're bearish, you want to see it break below support at 426. If that breaks, we could start sinking. If we're bullish, you want to see it break above 431. If that happens, 432 to 433 is a possibility, as we have this full measured move for the inverse head and shoulder. We have this unfilled gap up here that hasn't been filled at 432. So what do I think is more likely? Once again, guys, I can't predict PCE. That's going to depend. That's going to affect how the market ends up moving. But I am leaning more bullish. I predict it's still more probable we're going to see upside. We have a potential bullish flag developing on it. So you guys can see it right here. And on top of this, we have a very, very nice inverse head and shoulders that has not completed yet, which tells me that we might see this thing pushing for at least 432 as soon as tomorrow. I'm leaning more in that direction. But just to be safe, be open minded and be prepared for anything just to be safe, as PCE cannot always be predicted perfectly. But I'm still leaning more bullish in that direction nonetheless. For Aapl, if we break below 169, we could turn more bearish. If we break above 172, we could turn more bullish. As you guys know, like I just said, I'm leaning more bullish. I think 172 is going to break and 173.25 can be tested on Aapl. I'm leaning more in that direction. For the QQQ, I'm open to anything on the QQQ, but if we break and hold above 360, we're going to be watching 362.5 to be tested. If we break below 356, we can see this thing start pushing down towards 353. I am leaning more bullish. I think there's a high probability we're going to see this thing pushing for, I would say, around that 362 area. So I'm leaning a bit more bullish for the QQQ for now. For Nvda, so far, this thing is looking quite decent. Nvidia has a very nice looking bullish structure developing on the 30 minutes time frame. And then on the 4-hour time frame, we have a nice curling structure developing with the bullish looking MACD so far. I think there's a good chance that this thing is going to be pushing towards 440 very soon. I think 440 is very probable. I know I can't promise that as it depends on PCE, but I think Nvidia looks bullish. There's no sign of this thing breaking down just yet. If we end up breaking below like 424, for example, that would be a bearish signal. As of right now, there's no sign of that, and I'm leaning more towards 440 being tested, in my honest opinion. Microsoft, if we're bearish, you want to see it break below 309 all the way down here. 312, and then it's going to take us down to 309. If we're bullish, you want to see it break above this resistance at 315. If that breaks 317 is a real possibility. What do I think is more likely? Like you guys already heard, I am leaning more bullish. I think this thing has a nice bullish divergence, a bullish structure developing, and we're starting to see this thing accumulate very nicely, potentially even forming a nice triple bottom. So this could be a very, very good opportunity for this thing to break out towards 317. I am leaning more in that direction. AMD looks more bullish as well. Got a very, very nice breakouts today. And I'm going to be watching this thing approach this 105 area. It looks very, very much like more upside is on the table. If it gaps down tomorrow, it could be forming like a cup and handle before it does so. But I just think 105 plus is going to be tested soon. The VIX is looking more bearish. It actually broke down today, got a big rejection. We're about to get a bearish cross on the PPO. This tells me that this thing could be retesting the 16s very soon. I'm leaning more in that direction. The dollar is testing support at 106. If that fails us, then watch the 50 EMA around 105.8. It looks more bearish on the 4-hour chart, so we're going to be watching that very carefully. This could drop a little bit more towards 106, if not 105.8, which is bullish for the markets. The 10-year is continuing to break down a little bit. We've got a nice rejection candle that formed. And this is once again looking weaker, so this could be bullish for the markets. Google looking quite decent. Google is starting to break out. We were talking about this yesterday. This thing could be approaching this 135 resistance right here. Previous highs becoming resistance. And above that, we have potential to hit 136.5. So I'm leaning towards 135s or higher being tested. It looks more bullish overall on the 4-hour charts, and I think there's a lot of potential for it nonetheless. On Coinbase, okay, Coinbase has a nice, I would say this looks like a nice cup that's forming on it. Maybe the handle's yet to form, but I think this thing is going to either like kind of retrace a little bit, maybe retest the 74s, then bounce and start pushing higher, or it just bounces from here. I think 78 is coming very soon on Coinbase. It looks bullish to me. This could be a very symmetrical pattern. So 78 plus is on the table. I'm leaning more bullish, although I'm open-minded to anything. I'm still leaning in that direction. Google, like I just said, it has potential. Amazon, I think that this thing needs to break 127. Not that strong. It's just barely starting to curl. So I think it's going to test 127. If that breaks 128.5 is a real possibility. So I'm leaning a bit more bullish. And finally, for Meta, Meta looks more bullish too because we have a nice accumulation that formed right here, nice consolidation before this potential break. Can we watch this thing try to maybe retest 302 to 303? 302 could be retested in a bounce and a push up towards this, I would say 307 area seems very probable. So I'm leaning a bit more bullish on it. I think 307 could be tested to establish a potential, symmetrical structure. So I'm leaning a bit more bullish on that. All right, guys. So even though I can't predict the market, I can't promise everything for tomorrow. I can't accurately give you 100% certainties about what the market will truly do. So I'm trying to say I don't know what PCE is going to be, but what I will tell you is that I think the charts look more bullish and the odds do greatly favor more upside. And I think that there's a good chance of that potentially happening for tomorrow. All right. So hopefully this video was helpful. Thank you all so much for listening. I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Take care. Thank you. And I'll see you guys once again. Thank you and peace out.